This is video number 5 on January 13th, 2022. I've got a couple things I want to talk about today. I want to give a brief health update and then talk about the future of the channel, and those are actually kind of connected. So I want to remain real and honest. I joked around about not wanting this to turn into the Woe Is Me podcast, and that's very, very, very true. So while I'm going to talk about my health a little bit, I want to remain focused on the positive steps that I'm taking now to improve that situation. Um, so as far as the update goes, I kind of got a new picture of what is wrong with me. They originally thought that my sinus infection that I was diagnosed with this time last year was causing inflammation in my sinuses, which was preventing the infection from clearing completely and causing me headaches. There's kind of a different take on it now because I have been diagnosed with hypertension. So, and it's actually pretty bad hypertension. So I've had some time to think about my diagnosis and what I want to share and what I don't. And I want to be honest with everybody. I want to be real. I want to share what I'm going through, and so that's what I'm going through. I actually have fairly severe hypertension. So the new thought about what's wrong with the headaches and the sinus infection, because the sinus infection is real, is that perhaps inflammation in the sinuses, partly due to hypertension, is what's keeping the infection from draining. And the headaches are, a combination of infection and the hypertension. So we've got to take care, I've got to take care of the hypertension. And it's not something that I'm just going to do nothing about. I'm pretty serious about it. Ironically, the thing I thought, I have a sinus infection, I have headaches, my response to that was to take it easy and just not force the issue. Got a headache, I don't want to make it worse, so I won't do the same kind of things or the same amount of things. Well, this hypertension issue changes the script completely. It turns out the best thing I could have done would be just to push through the headaches back a year ago and try to be more active, because not only does weight gain affect our blood pressure, but also not being active affects our blood pressure, especially not being active for prolonged periods of time. So I did the opposite of what I should have done. So I'm going to have to be more active, and I'm going to have to lose weight. Now, many of you know I was already wanting to be more active and lose weight anyway, and I felt like the headaches were holding me back. So we're going to try to do this without the headaches being cured. Now they are being reduced. I have been placed on a blood pressure medicine. It's pretty low dose. They'll probably want to increase it after they monitor my blood pressure, but anyway, we're taking it a step at a time. And the headaches are decreased. So I have been doing more exercise. I have been more active. And that's the kind of stuff I want to focus on when I talk about my health, which I'm not always going to talk about my health. But when I do, I want to focus on the proactive steps that I'm taking to improve my health. So yeah, I'm going to recommit to being more active and trying to get back to where I was before all this started, and then trying to improve even beyond that. As far as what we're doing medically, my sinuses do seem to have some significant inflammation. So there's going to be some rinses other than saline, some sprays and things that I can do in the evening to keep those passages open better while I'm asleep, so I don't wake up with such an issue that I have to spend hours of the morning trying to get my head right, my sinuses right. Then I just, hopefully with these steps taken with this medication that goes nasally, I'll be able to just wake up and maybe not hit the ground running, but be closer to that, be improved. And this will also help improve the drainage, so whatever infection is up there, it won't spend the whole evening just up there not draining out. I'll have a normal sinus drainage so that anything that is up there, and it will prevent future infections should something else find its way up there, as these things tend to do. It's weird to talk about. We think about things like our nasal passages and sinus infections, but it's it's super gross to talk about out loud. I'm just now realizing. But anyway, the doctors are on it. They've been really helpful. I've already talked about the hypertension, and I've already talked about I'm on a blood pressure medication. I imagine it will take time to lose weight, so they'll probably, and the response of being more physically active by my body, it will take time for that to have a positive effect on my blood pressure. So I imagine they'll probably increase the medication, but maybe not. We'll have to see. There already has been positive improvement. I was pegging some pretty high numbers a week ago, and while it's still high and technically hypertensive, they are lower. And so the combination of activity and diet, which I haven't really mentioned yet, and the blood pressure medication is already, just within a week's time, bringing these numbers down. So as I continue with diet and exercise, and if they decide to up the medication, it should get me back to a blood pressure range that I want to be in. So this is after 20 years of not really going to the doctor. I had a back injury in the military. Obviously I was treated for that, but that's a different kind of medicine, right? That's responding to a physical trauma and physical therapy, things like that. So as far as just like routine maintenance, as far as like the types of things I'm talking about, I really haven't historically gone to the doctor. So now I don't know, you could say he's paying for 20 years of not going, or you could say he had a 20-year good run and now he's going to have to think about his health a little differently. Somewhere between the both is how I feel about it. But at any rate, I now also have appointments for a dermatologist and for an allergist, because this sinus inflammation, while they're going to give me some things to try to reduce that directly, they also want to explore what might be the causes of that, especially as this is not a problem that I had a year and a half ago, even more recent than that. So this is a 13-month phenomena. So something changed, or maybe my body changed even, but we're going to try to get to the root causes of the inflammation with the allergist. And then the dermatologist, as some of you may remember, when I took the first antibiotic for the sinus infection initially, while it did help greatly, I mean, the headaches I'm having now are nothing like the headaches I was having a year ago. I had a severe skin reaction to the antibiotic, and so my doctor was pretty insistent on not continuing to treat with antibiotics, and I'm comfortable with that, because other than the 3 antibiotics that I've had last year to treat the sinus infection, I've only ever had 3 other antibiotics in my adult life. So we're it's a territory that I've not spent a lot of time in, and I'm comfortable trying to do something other than continually take antibiotics. That's just not something that I'm thrilled about. Not that I'm thrilled about any of this. We're going to have to find some solutions. They're working on it. I'm working on it. But that's where we're at. Again, I want to focus on the positive steps that I'm taking. So exercise, I'm doing 2 to 3 times a day. Walking, jogging, lifting weights. Not super intensive now. I'm going more for time, trying to do 30 minutes of activity at a time. But as I continue to do that, I mean, even just was already walking more regularly before this started. So yeah, I'm trying to just increase the amount of time and the intensity a little bit, but that will come with time. As I continue to exercise regularly, my body adapts to that and adjusts to that. I'll be able to increase the intensity. I haven't noticed any hypertensive issues. One of the strange things about hypertension, they call it the silent killer. A lot of times people experience no symptoms at all. So maybe the infection, the sinus infection, and the hypertension are working together to cause these headaches. Maybe it's more than one than the other. Maybe it was more infection and now it's more hypertension. At any rate, the headaches are pretty minor, and if that is due primarily to hypertension, that's the only symptom that I feel. So as I've continued to exercise and increase the amount of exercise that I'm doing, I haven't had any strange issues. Now, I am exercising more often, I am exercising harder, so obviously my body has a response to that, but it's nothing unusual. I was in the Army and I was more fit in the past, and I've gone from not fit to fit a couple different times in my life, and I'm not experiencing anything unusual that I'm not used to or didn't expect. So that's a good sign. Also, I've had 2 EKGs 5 days apart, and they show that my heart is operating fine. So this hypertension hasn't done any permanent damage to my heart, which is one of the things I was concerned about, and it doesn't seem to be the case. Now they'll continue to monitor that, obviously, but initially looking at 2 EKGs 5 days apart, there's nothing unusual that they're getting back from that. So if I can get this hypertension under control, I can prevent it from doing any significant damage to my heart. So I want to talk more about exercise, what I'm doing in future videos. I'm not going to get in too deep to that now. Also, with diet, I've reduced my calories to a pretty low level, trying to keep it around 500 calories a day for the last week. Also, that has kind of built into it, eating so few calories and so few times a day, an intermittent fasting component. And as I do begin to increase my caloric intake, I am going to implement intermittent fasting. And intermittent fasting can mean a lot of different things. So again, I'm going to do a future video talking more about intermittent fasting. If you're curious about that now, other people have done videos on it. They'll probably be better than the one I do, so feel free to plug that into your search and look that up. But I've mentioned that in the past I've not had a lot of luck with dieting. The one diet that I did find somewhat beneficial in the past was intermittent fasting. So I'll be returning to that and talking more about that in the future. So other than my health, future of the channel, what are we going to do? Well, in the coming weeks, I'm going to do a video on moral injury. That is my research focus for my doctoral program. That is also an area that when I was a Veterans Affairs chaplain, I focused on moral injury. I ran moral injury support groups. So I'm going to do a video that's just kind of an introduction to moral injury. I also want to do a video to respond to some feedback from my Facebook page, Macrobius Americana. That's a political philosophy, cultural perspective page. I've talked about it before in a previous video. I'm going to start incorporating more content from Macrobius Americana onto the YouTube channel, and I want to start that by responding to some feedback that I've got in the comments section on that page from some of the things I've posted. Lastly, I'm going to start reading some short stories. That's free fiction for you, so you'll be able to tune in for, I don't know, haven't read any yet. I'm not sure how long it'll take to read them, but I'm guessing it'll be 5 to 15 minute stories of things that I've written, some of them published, some of them unpublished. Might even do a few YouTube originals, but at any rate, I'm going to start reading some fiction, and you'll be able to have that for free. Of course, when I'm doing these videos now, I'm speaking off the cuff. There's some ums in there. There's some stutters and some half-said words that I then decide I want to pronounce differently, those kind of things. When I read the fiction, it'll be a much more polished read. So it will be something that you want to stick in your ear. And if you like to read, if you like audiobooks, it'll be the kind of performance that you'll want to stick in your ear and hear a story. So that's the future of the channel as I see it today. I'm sure that will continue to evolve and continue to change. But I wanted to, like I said, get these videos in more regularly. I want to do a few a week. And I haven't done one for a minute because I was kind of pondering over the health stuff and had a couple different appointments in there and processing all of that. So I've done that. This is the direction where we're going. Video number 5 in the bank.